The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was the largest room Jiho had ever seen. It stretched so far that the ceiling disappeared into darkness above. Thousands of alien representatives sat in floating seats that circled a central platform. Lights of every color blinked and glowed from different sections where different species gathered. Jiho stood on the central platform. He wore his best black suit. His shoes were polished so bright that they reflected the alien lights around him. Behind him stood his team. There was Yuna, his translator and advisor. There was Commander Tejo, head of the military escort. There were 12 soldiers in their formal uniforms. There were 3 scientists and 2 trade specialists. They had traveled for 6 months through space to reach this place. Earth had sent them with one mission. They were to ask the Galactic Council for equal trade rights. For 50 years, humans had been part of the galactic community, but they were still treated as newcomers. They paid higher taxes. They received fewer resources. They were not allowed to trade with certain species. Jiho had practiced his speech 100 times. He had memorized every word. He had studied the customs of every major species in the council. He knew when to bow. He knew when to make eye contact. He knew when to stay silent. The council chamber grew quiet. A massive creature floated to the center of the room. This was High Elder Norax, the leader of the council. His body was like a giant jellyfish, transparent and glowing with soft blue light. His voice came from everywhere at once when he spoke. The representative from Earth may now present his petition, Norax announced. Jiho stepped forward. His heart was beating fast, but his face showed nothing. Years of diplomatic training had taught him to hide his emotions. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Jiho began. His voice was calm and clear. I come before you on behalf of 8 billion humans. We have been proud members of this galactic community for 50 years. We have followed every law. We have paid every tax. We have fought beside you against common enemies. We have shared our technology and our culture. He paused and looked around the chamber. Thousands of alien eyes watched him. Some were curious, some were bored. Some showed emotions he could not read. Today, I ask for something simple. Jiho continued. I ask for equal treatment. We request the same trade rights that other species enjoy. We request fair taxation. We request the freedom to trade with all willing partners. Jiho finished his speech and stepped back. The chamber was silent for a moment. Then whispers began to spread through the crowd. The sound was like wind moving through leaves. High Elder Norax raised one of his glowing tentacles. The council will now hear responses to this petition. Representative Velcor of the Velran Empire, you may speak. Jiho felt his stomach tighten. The Velran Empire was the oldest and most powerful group in the galaxy. They had controlled galactic trade for thousands of years. They did not like competition. A tall figure rose from the Velran section. Velcor was thin and pale, with skin that looked like white marble. His eyes were completely black, like 2 holes in his face. He wore robes made of some shimmering material that changed color as he moved. Velcor floated down to the central platform. He did not look at Jiho. He looked at the council, as if Jiho was not even there. Honored members, Velcor said. His voice was cold and smooth. We have heard the petition from the human representative. I must say, I am amused. Laughter rippled through parts of the chamber. Jiho kept his face still. These humans have been part of our community for only 50 years, Velcor continued. 50 years. My morning tea is older than their entire spacefaring history. More laughter. Jiho saw Yuna clench her fists behind him. He gave her a small signal to stay calm. They come from a small planet in a forgotten corner of the galaxy, Velcor said. They eat dead animals. They fight wars among themselves. They nearly destroyed their own world before they learned to travel through space. Velcor finally turned to look at Jiho. His black eyes showed no emotion. And now these primitive scavengers dare to ask for equal rights? They dare to compare themselves to species that have been civilized for millions of years? The laughter was louder now. It came from all around the chamber. Jiho heard sounds that might have been laughter from species he had never seen before. I say this with respect for the Council's time, Velcor said. The petition is ridiculous. Humans are useful for simple labor and basic military support. Nothing more. To give them equal trade rights would be like giving a child the keys to a starship. Velcor bowed to the Council and floated back to his seat. The laughter slowly died down. High Elder Norax spoke again. Does any other representative wish to respond? Silence. Jiho looked around the chamber. He saw representatives from species that humans had helped. He saw the Tauran delegate, whose planet humans had defended from pirates. He saw the Mikari ambassador, whose people humans had given medicine during a plague. He saw the Oshan representative, whose colony humans had fed during a famine. None of them spoke. None of them even met his eyes. Jiho understood. They were afraid of the Velran Empire. They were afraid of losing their own trade rights. They were afraid of standing up for humans. Behind him, Commander Tejo whispered, "Sir, do you want me to respond?" "No," Jiho whispered back. "Stay silent." High Elder Norax waited for a long moment. "Very well. If there are no other responses, the Council will vote on the human petition." The vote was quick. Jiho watched the numbers appear on a floating screen. 93% voted against the petition. Only 7% voted in favor. Most of those were small species with no real power. "The petition is denied," Norax announced. "The human delegation may leave." Jiho did not move. He stood perfectly still on the central platform. The chamber began to buzz with conversation as representatives started to leave for their midday break, but Jiho did not leave. He did not bow. He did not thank the Council for their time. Yuna stepped closer to him. "Sir, we should go." Jiho still did not move. He was looking at Velcor, who was laughing with other Velran delegates. They were pointing at the human delegation and making jokes. Something changed in Jiho's eyes. The diplomatic mask he had worn for 20 years began to crack. Underneath was something older. Something harder. Something that his ancestors had carried through ice ages and world wars and nuclear standoffs. "No," Jiho said quietly. "We are not leaving." "Not yet." Yuna looked confused. "Sir?" Commander Tejo stepped forward. He had served with Jiho for 15 years. He knew that look in his eyes. He had seen it before, in the faces of soldiers who had finally had enough. "What are your orders, Ambassador?" Tejo asked. Jiho reached up and touched the diplomatic badge on his chest. It was a simple pin showing Earth surrounded by stars. He had worn it proudly for 2 decades. "Call Earth," Jiho said. "Tell them what happened here today. Every word. Tuar." Tejo nodded and stepped away to make the call. Jiho continued to stand on the platform. He watched the aliens laugh and talk and ignore him. He watched them treat humanity like dirt, and he began to plan. 3 hours passed. The council members returned from their break. They found something strange. The human delegation was still standing on the central platform. They had not moved. Whispers spread through the chamber. This was not normal. When a petition was denied, the petitioners left. That was the rule. That was how things had been done for 10,000 years. High Elder Norax floated back to his position. His jellyfish body pulsed with confused colors. "Ambassador Jiho," he said, "your petition has been decided. You may return to your seats or leave the chamber." Jiho did not respond. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His eyes were focused on something far away. "Ambassador?" Norax repeated. Yuna touched Jiho's arm. "Sir, they are speaking to you." Jiho finally moved. He turned to look at Norax. His face was completely calm. Too calm. It was the kind of calm that comes before a storm. "I heard you," Jiho said. "I am waiting." "Waiting for what?" Norax asked. "For a response from my government." The chamber grew quiet. This was very unusual. Petitioners did not wait for responses from their governments. They accepted the council's decision and left. Velcor stood up from his seat. "This is ridiculous. Remove them." Norax hesitated. "Ambassador Jiho, I must ask you to. A small device on Commander Tejo's wrist began to beep. He looked at it, then walked to Jiho and whispered something in his ear. Jiho nodded slowly. The response has arrived. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small metal cylinder. He pressed a button on it. A hologram appeared above the platform. It showed a woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She wore a dark blue uniform covered in medals. "This is Fleet Admiral Yunjin Park," the hologram said, "Supreme Commander of Earth's combined military forces. I am speaking on behalf of the United Earth government." The chamber fell completely silent. No one had expected this. "We have received a full report of today's events," Admiral Park continued. "We have heard the insults. We have seen the vote. We have watched our ambassador be treated with disrespect." Velcor laughed. "And what will you do? Cry about it?" The hologram turned to look directly at Velcor. The old admiral's eyes were like ice. "For 50 years, humanity has followed every rule of this council. We have been patient. We have been humble. We have waited for acceptance that never came." Admiral Park paused. When she spoke again, her voice was harder. "That patience ends today. The United Earth government hereby withdraws from the Galactic Council. All treaties are cancelled. All agreements are void. All human military forces in Allied territories will return home within 30 days. Gasps filled the chamber. Several representatives jumped to their feet. This had never happened before. No species had ever left the council. Norax raised his tentacles. "Please, let us discuss this." "Perhaps there is nothing to discuss," Jiho said. He stepped forward, and his voice carried across the entire chamber. "You called us primitive. You called us scavengers. You laughed at us." He reached up and removed his diplomatic badge. He held it in his hand and looked at it for a moment. 20 years of his life. 20 years of serving Earth among the stars. Then he dropped it on the floor. The small metal badge made a sound when it hit the ground. In the silent chamber, it was like thunder. "My name is Jiho Han," he said. "I am the last human ambassador to the Galactic Council. And these are my final words to you." He looked around the chamber slowly. He met the eyes of every species that had voted against humanity. "You think we are weak because we are young. You think we are primitive because we are different. You laugh because you have forgotten what we are." Closed. Jiho's voice grew stronger. "We come from a planet that tried to kill us every day. Ice ages, plagues, earthquakes, floods. We survived them all. We come from a species that hunted animals 10 times our size with pointed sticks. We come from people who crossed oceans in wooden boats, not knowing if they would ever see land again." The chamber was absolutely silent now. No one was laughing. 50 years ago, we met our first aliens. They came to conquer us. Do you remember what happened? Velcor's black eyes narrowed. He remembered. Everyone remembered. "We had no starships," Jiho continued. "We had no energy weapons. We had nothing but nuclear bombs. And the will to survive. And we won. We captured their ships. We learned their technology. We became spacefaring in 1 generation." Commander Tejo stepped up beside Jiho. One by one, the soldiers and scientists moved to stand in a line behind their ambassador. "You gave us the worst trade deals because you thought we needed you," Jiho said. "You charged us extra taxes because you thought we would pay anything to belong. You treated us like servants because you thought we had nowhere else to go." He smiled then. It was not a friendly smile. "You were wrong." Yuna pulled out a datapad and began reading. "In the 50 years since joining the Council, humans have established 247 independent colonies. We have built a fleet of 3,000 military vessels. We have developed faster-than-light engines that are twice as efficient as the Council standard. We have reverse-engineered and improved every piece of alien technology we have encountered." Velcor stood up. His pale face had gone even whiter. "Those numbers cannot be correct." Runs. "They are correct," Jiho said. "You were so busy laughing at us that you never bothered to watch what we were doing. While you called us primitive, we were building. While you called us scavengers, we were learning. While you treated us like nothing, We were becoming everything. Norax moved forward, his tentacles waving in distress. Ambassador, please. We can renegotiate. We can discuss new terms. The time for discussion has passed, Jiho said. He turned to his team. We are leaving. The human delegation began to walk toward the great doors of the chamber. Their boots struck the floor in perfect rhythm. Left, right, left, right. The sound echoed through the hall like a heartbeat. Representatives from various species called out to them. Some were angry, some were confused, some were scared. The Tauran delegate ran down to block their path. Ambassador Jiho, please, the Tauran said. My people are grateful to humans. We remember what you did for us. Do not do this. Jiho stopped and looked at the small alien. His face softened just a little. You did not speak for us when we asked for help, Jiho said gently. I understand why. The Velrans are powerful. You were afraid. But you had a choice. And you chose silence. Now we have a choice too. He walked around the Tauran and continued toward the doors. Velkor's voice rang out across the chamber. You will regret this. Without the council, you are nothing. You will come crawling back within a year. Jiho did not turn around. He did not respond. He just kept walking. The massive doors of the council chamber began to open. Light from outside flooded in. The human delegation walked toward it, their shadows stretching long behind them. Just before Jiho stepped through the doors, he stopped. He turned his head slightly, not quite looking back. One more thing, he said. His voice was quiet, but every ear in the chamber heard it. The next time we meet, you will call me by my title. Not ambassador. Not representative. He paused. Admiral. Then he walked through the doors and was gone. Behind him, the council chamber erupted into chaos. But Jiho did not hear it. He was already thinking about what came next. For 50 years, humanity had tried to make friends with the galaxy. Now, they would try something different. The doors of the council chamber led to the grand corridor. It was the longest hallway in the galaxy. It stretched for 5 kilometers through the heart of the council station. On both sides, there were shops and restaurants and offices. Thousands of aliens walked through it every day. Today, they all stopped to watch. Word had spread fast. The humans had withdrawn from the council. The humans were leaving. Everyone wanted to see. Jiho walked at the front of the delegation. Commander Tejo was on his right. Yuna was on his left. Behind them, the 12 soldiers marched in perfect formation. Then came the scientists and specialists. Their boots hit the floor together. Left, right, left, right. The sound was sharp and clear. It bounced off the walls and ceiling. It filled the corridor. Aliens pressed against the sides to make way. They stared with eyes of every color and shape. Some whispered to each other. Some recorded videos on their devices. Some just stood in silence. A group of young Velrans stood near a fountain. They shouted insults at the passing humans. Go back to your dirty planet. Primitive animals. You will starve without the council. The soldiers did not look at them. They kept their eyes forward. They kept marching. Commander Tejo whispered to Jiho. Sir, should we respond? No, Jiho said. Let them yell. Words cannot hurt us. They marched on. A small creature ran out from the crowd. It was a child, no bigger than a human toddler. Its fur was orange, and it had 4 arms. It stood in the middle of the corridor, frozen with fear. Jiho stopped. The entire delegation stopped behind him. The child's mother screamed from the crowd. She was trying to push through, but there were too many people. Jiho knelt down slowly. He looked at the small alien child. It was trembling. Do not be afraid, Jiho said softly. We will not hurt you. He reached out his hand. The child looked at it, confused. Then it grabbed one of Jiho's fingers with its tiny hands. Jiho stood up and walked the child to the edge of the crowd. He found the mother and gently gave her back her baby. The mother looked at him with wide eyes. Thank you, she whispered. Jiho nodded and returned to his place. The march continued. The aliens watching began to whisper different things now. They had expected the humans to be angry. They had expected them to be violent. But the human ambassador had stopped to help a child. That was not what monsters did. Halfway down the corridor, a tall figure blocked their path. It was a Krell warrior. The Krell were massive creatures, 3 meters tall, covered in gray, armor-like skin. They had been the terror of the galaxy, until humans defeated them. This warrior had scars on his face and chest. He was old, probably a veteran of the war. Jiho stopped. The delegation stopped behind him. The Krell warrior looked down at Jiho for a long moment. No one spoke. The corridor was completely silent. Then the Krell warrior did something that made everyone gasp. He stepped to the side. He lowered his head. He placed his fist over his heart. It was a Krell salute. It was the highest sign of respect one warrior could show another. "We fought you," the old warrior said. His voice was like rocks grinding together. "We lost. There is no shame in losing to humans." Jiho returned the salute. "There was honor in your fighting. We remember." The warrior stepped back into the crowd. Jiho continued walking. Now the whispers were louder. A Krell warrior had saluted a human. A Krell warrior had shown respect to the species they had once tried to destroy. What did that mean? The march continued. 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, 3. More aliens came to watch. They came from offices and ships and homes across the station. They filled the corridor on both sides. They climbed on top of structures to see better. They hung from balconies above. Some began to chant insults with the Velrans. But others stayed quiet. And some, just a few, began to clap. The clapping started small. Just a handful of aliens from the smaller species. The ones who had no power in the council. The ones who had also been treated badly. The ones who had dreamed of doing what the humans were doing now. The clapping grew. It spread through the crowd like fire. Not everyone joined, but enough did. Jiho did not smile. He did not react. He kept walking. They passed a news station. Reporters from 100 different species were broadcasting live. Their cameras followed the human delegation. They spoke quickly in languages Jiho did not understand. One reporter managed to get close enough to shout a question. "Ambassador Jiho, what will humanity do now?" Jiho did not slow down. He did not look at the reporter. But he answered, "We will do what we have always done. We will survive. We will grow. We will remember. We will 9. We will grow. We will grow. We will grow. We will do what we have always done. We will grow. We will remember." The march continued. At the 4-kilometer mark, something unexpected happened. A group of aliens stepped out from the crowd and joined the march. They walked behind the human delegation. They were Mikari. Small, blue-skinned creatures with large eyes. Their planet had been saved by human medicine during a plague 10 years ago. "We stand with humanity," their leader said. The Velrans in the crowd were furious. They shouted at the Mikari. They called them traitors, but the Mikari kept walking. Then more aliens joined. The Oshan, who had been fed by human food ships. The Torvak, whose space station humans had repaired after an accident. The Lumina, whose children humans had rescued from slavers. One by one, they fell in behind the human delegation. Not many, maybe 50 aliens in total. It was nothing compared to the thousands who watched in silence or shouted insults. But it was something. Commander Tejo looked back at the small group following them. "We have company, sir." Jiho allowed himself a small smile. "So we do." They reached the end of the grand corridor. The massive airlock to the human ship was straight ahead. It was a military vessel, sleek and gray, with the flag of United Earth painted on its side. Jiho stopped at the airlock door. He turned to face the crowd one last time. Thousands of aliens looked back at him. Some were angry, some were scared, some were sad, some were hopeful. "Remember this day," Jiho said. His voice was carried by speakers throughout the corridor. "Remember that you had a chance for friendship. Remember that you chose pride instead. Remember that when we offered our hand, you slapped it away. He paused. We will not offer it again. The airlock door opened with a hiss. One by one, the human delegation walked through. The soldiers first. Then the scientists. Then the specialists. Yuna stopped next to Jiho. What about them? She pointed at the aliens who had joined their march. Jiho looked at the small group of Mikari, Oshan, Torvak, and Lumina. They stood at the edge of the airlock, uncertain. Any who wish to come with us may come, Jiho said loudly. Earth welcomes those who stand with us. The aliens looked at each other. Then, one by one, they walked through the airlock. Commander Tejo was the last to enter before Jiho. He stopped and looked back at the crowd. This is not the end, Tejo said. This is the beginning. Then he was gone. Jiho stood alone at the airlock. He looked at the crowd one final time. He saw fear in their eyes. Good. They should be afraid. He stepped through the airlock. The door closed behind him, and humanity was alone in the galaxy once again. The council chamber was chaos after the humans left. Representatives shouted at each other. Some demanded action against Earth. Others called for calm. A few quietly slipped away, already planning to send secret messages to the human government. High Elder Norax floated in the center of it all, trying to restore order. His jellyfish body flashed with stressed colors. Red, orange, purple. Silence, he finally thundered. Everyone return to your seats. Slowly, the chamber settled down. Representatives found their places. But the energy in the room was different now. The air felt heavy. With something no one wanted to name, Norax turned to Velkor, who sat calmly in his seat, showing no concern. Representative Velkor, you provoked this situation. What do you suggest we do? Velkor waved his hand dismissively. Do nothing. The humans are bluffing. They will be back within months, begging for our help. They cannot survive alone. An old voice spoke from the back of the chamber. You are wrong. Everyone turned to look. The speaker was Elder Mirax, the oldest member of the council. She had been alive for 6,000 years. Her species, the Ellerin, were known for their wisdom and their memory. Mirax floated slowly to the center of the chamber. Her body was like an ancient tree, gray and twisted. But her eyes were sharp and clear. I have watched many species come and go, Mirax said. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have seen proud civilizations turn to dust. And in all my years, I have never seen anything like humans. Velkor made a sound of disgust. They are children. They have only been in space for 50 years. Yes, Mirax agreed. Only 50 years. And in that time, they have done what took other species millions of years to achieve. She pressed a button on her chair. A holographic display appeared above the chamber, showing a blue and green planet. Earth. Let me tell you what I remember, Mirax said. Let me tell you what you have all forgotten. The display changed to show images from human history. 60 years ago, the Krell Empire invaded Earth. The Krell had conquered 47 worlds. They had never lost a war. Their ships darkened Earth's sky like a storm cloud. The images showed massive Krell warships hovering over human cities, people running in the streets, buildings burning. The humans had nothing, Mirax continued. No shields, no energy weapons, no starships. By every measure, they should have been enslaved within a week. The display showed something new. Human soldiers carrying primitive weapons. Tanks rolling through destroyed cities. Fighter jets flying toward alien ships. Instead, they fought. They used nuclear weapons against the landing forces. They sacrificed entire cities to destroy Krell command centers. They launched suicide attacks against warships using planes loaded with explosives. Mirax paused. The chamber was completely silent. In 3 months, the humans killed more Krell warriors than the Empire had lost in 500 years of conquest. In 6 months, they captured their first Krell ship. In 1 year, they had driven the Krell from their planet completely. Velcor shifted uncomfortably in his seat. That was luck. The Krell were overconfident. Was it luck when they reverse-engineered Krell technology in 5 years? Mirax asked. Was it luck when they built their own Starfleet in 10? Was it luck when they found the Krell homeworld and made them surrender? The display showed the Krell Emperor kneeling before human commanders, signing a peace treaty. The Krell ruled 47 worlds. They had been a power for 10,000 years. The humans ended their empire in 15 years. 15 years. Mirax let that number hang in the air. Do you know what the Krell call humans now? She asked. Do you know what name they gave them? No one answered. They call them the Undying. Because no matter how many you kill, more keep coming. No matter how much you take from them, they rebuild. No matter how badly you defeat them, they rise again. The display changed to show human colony ships spreading across space, mining stations, research facilities, military bases. In 50 years, they have colonized more worlds than most species colonize in 1,000. They can live anywhere. Frozen moons, desert planets, asteroid fields, radiation zones that would kill any of us in minutes. They call these places home. Velcor stood up angrily. Enough of this. What is your point, old one? Mirax turned to look at him. Her ancient eyes held no fear. My point, Representative Velcor, is that you have made a terrible mistake. We all have. She gestured at the empty space where the human delegation had stood. For 50 years, we treated them like servants. We laughed at them. We cheated them. We made them pay extra for everything while giving them nothing in return. We thought we were being clever. We thought we were keeping them weak. Mirax shook her head slowly. We were fools. We gave them reasons to become strong without us. We gave them reasons to hate us. We gave them reasons to prepare for the day when they would not need us anymore. She looked around the chamber. That day has come, and we are not ready. Norax floated forward. Surely you exaggerate. They are one species. We are hundreds. They cannot stand against the entire council. Mirax laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Cannot? Let me tell you something about humans, High Elder. Something you should know. The display changed to show human soldiers in training. They were doing impossible things. Running for hours without stopping. Swimming in freezing water. Fighting in complete darkness. They do not stop. Ever. When they are tired, they keep going. When they are hurt, they keep fighting. When they are dying, they take their enemies with them. Other species fight to win. Humans fight because they do not know how to stop. Velcor sat back down slowly. His face was less confident now. There is something else, Mirax said. Something worse. When humans fight each other, they are terrifying. They have killed more of their own kind than the Krell killed in 1,000 years of war. Their history is written in blood. The display showed human wars, ancient battles with swords and spears, modern wars with tanks and bombs, a nuclear explosion turning a city to ash. But when humans fight together against an outside enemy, when all of humanity unites against a common threat, Mirax turned to face Velcor directly. There is no force in this galaxy that can stop them. The chamber was silent. No one knew what to say. Finally, Norax spoke. What do you suggest we do? Mirax was quiet for a long moment. Then she sighed. Pray, she said. Pray that they decide to ignore us. Pray that they focus on building their own empire and leave us alone. Pray that they forget what we did to them today. She began to float back to her seat. Because if they decide to take revenge, she said over her shoulder, nothing we do will save us. Nothing at all. The chamber remained silent long after she had gone. In his seat, Velcor sat very still. For the first time in his long life, he felt something he had never felt before. Fear. 1 week passed after the humans left the council. Then, 1 month. Then 1 year. The galaxy watched and waited. At first, many species laughed at the news. Humans had left the council. How foolish. They would come crawling back soon, begging for trade deals and protection. But the humans did not come back. Instead, reports began to arrive. Strange reports. Worrying reports. Human traders appeared in the outer systems, far from Council space. They bought raw materials at fair prices. They sold technology that was better and cheaper than anything the Council offered. Species that had never dealt with humans before suddenly found themselves signing trade agreements. They are desperate, Velcor announced at a council meeting. They are trying to find new partners because they cannot survive alone. But the reports kept coming. Human ships were faster now. Human weapons were stronger. Human shields could take more damage. Every month, the gap between human technology and Council technology grew smaller. Some species sent spies to human space. Most were caught and sent back with polite warnings. A few were never seen again. The spies who returned told stories that kept their leaders awake at night. They spoke of factories that ran day and night, producing ships by the hundreds. They spoke of training camps where soldiers learned to fight in any environment. They spoke of research stations where scientists worked on weapons that should not be possible. They spoke of humans who worked 20-hour days and called it normal. Humans who saw their families once a year and called it a sacrifice. Humans who gave up everything for the chance to make their species stronger. They are building something, the spies reported. Something big. Something terrible. 5 years after the council meeting, the first incident happened. A group of Velran pirates attacked a human cargo ship near the border. It was a common crime. The Velrans expected easy prey. The human ship killed 15 pirates and captured 3 more. Then it sent a message to the Velran government. These criminals will be tried under human law. If found guilty, they will be executed. This is not a negotiation. This is a notification. The Velran government protested. They demanded the return of their citizens. They threatened consequences. The humans did not respond. 3 days later, they broadcast the execution live across all frequencies. The message was clear. Human space had different rules, and those rules would be enforced. Velcor was furious. He demanded that the council punish the humans. He called for sanctions. He called for military action. No one supported him. You saw what they did to the Krell, the Tauran representative said quietly. Do you want to be next? 10 years after the council meeting, the second incident happened. The Lumina, one of the species that had walked out with the humans, were attacked by the Karok collective. The Karok were brutal slavers. They had raided Lumina ships for centuries. This time, when the Karok attacked, they found something unexpected: human warships. The battle lasted 6 minutes. The Karok fleet was destroyed completely. Not one ship survived. Not one escape pod was allowed to leave. The humans then sent a message to the Karok homeworld. The Lumina are under human protection. Attack them again, and we will come for your planet. This is your only warning. The Karok never raided another Lumina ship. News of this spread through the galaxy like wildfire. The humans were protecting their allies. The humans were willing to fight. The humans were not afraid. Suddenly, many species wanted to be friends with humanity. Ambassadors traveled to Earth. They brought gifts and apologies. They asked for trade agreements and protection treaties. They promised to vote for human interests in the council. The humans welcomed some. They turned away others. They never explained their choices. High Elder Norax sent a personal message to the human government. He expressed regret for the events of the past. He offered to discuss humanity's return to the council. The response was short. We do not forget. We do not forgive. We do not return. It was signed by Admiral Jiho Han, commander of the Human Defense Fleet. 20 years after the council meeting, Velcor died. His species said it was old age. But everyone knew the truth. He had spent his final years watching human influence grow, while Velran power shrank. He died knowing that his insult at the council had created the very thing he feared most: a united, powerful, unforgiving humanity. 25 years after the council meeting, something unexpected happened. A new threat appeared at the edge of the galaxy. They called themselves the Void. They were not like any species the Council had seen before. They did not negotiate. They did not trade. They did not talk. They only consumed. World after world fell to the Void. Entire species were wiped out in weeks. The Council's combined fleets fought back and lost. Nothing seemed to stop them. In desperation, Norak sent a message to Earth. He begged for help. He promised anything. Everything. The humans did not respond. The Void moved closer to Council space. More worlds fell. Billions died. The Council prepared for the end, and then, just as the Void reached the borders of the core systems, they stopped. Something had attacked them from behind. Something had hit their supply lines. Something had destroyed their forward bases. Humans. The human fleet appeared like ghosts from the darkness of space. 3,000 warships. The largest military force the galaxy had ever seen. They did not fight like the Council. They did not form defensive lines. They did not protect territory. They attacked. Always. Constantly. Without rest. They hit the Void where they were weakest. They destroyed ships and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. They never stopped moving. Commander Tejo, now an old man with gray hair, led the campaign personally. He was 70 years old and still fighting. No sleep until they are broken, he told his soldiers. No rest until they are destroyed. No mercy until every one of them is dead. The war lasted 3 years. In the end, the Void was destroyed completely. Not driven back. Not contained. Destroyed. The galaxy was saved. Norax traveled to Earth to thank the humans personally. He brought gifts worth more than entire planets. He offered humanity anything they wanted. Admiral Jiho Han met him at the door of the Council ship. He was old now, his hair white, his face lined, but his eyes were the same as they had been that day in the Council chamber. Cold, sharp, unforgiving. You ask why we helped, Jiho said. You wonder why we saved species that laughed at us, that mocked us, that insulted us. He looked at Norax with something that might have been pity. We did not save you. We saved ourselves. The Void was a threat to us. You were simply in the way. Norax bowed his head. What do you want from us? Jiho smiled. It was the same cold smile he had shown through the closing doors of the Council chamber. All those years ago. We want you to remember, he said. Remember that we saved you when we did not have to. Remember that we are stronger than you. Remember that you laughed at us once. He leaned closer. And remember that we never, ever forget. Norax returned to the Council. He told them what Jiho had said. He told them that the humans wanted nothing from them. Somehow, that was more frightening than any demand. The galaxy had a new power now. Not the Velrans, not the Council. Humanity. And as the years passed, as human influence spread across the stars, as species after species chose to ally with Earth rather than against it, one thought echoed through the minds of every alien who remembered that day in the Council chamber. They had been warned. The humans had walked out of the Council with nothing but their pride and their anger. They had returned as rulers of the galaxy, and the galaxy had watched it all happen. Too afraid to stop them. Too late to even try.